What's going on, guys? So this is the first Q&A I'm going to be doing on my YouTube channel. I've been getting a lot of questions whenever I post questions on Instagram, and I figured that it would be a good idea to answer a good amount of them. Hopefully I can get through a reasonable amount of them and make this video rather succinct. But there are questions that you guys have for me, both training and non-training related, some completely unrelated to training, and I just wanted to get to them, so we're going to start that right now. What area of acting do you want to get into? So that's a great question. I honestly will get into any type of acting I can, and there are a lot of different things that I'm interested in. My ultimate goal is to do film acting. I would like to be in movies one day, and I'm going to do everything I can to get there, but I'm also really interested in theater. I grew up doing a lot of theater, so when I move back to New York, I'll be taking voice lessons and trying to add to the repertoire of things I can do in theater, because I don't only want to do dramas. I would like to one day do musicals as well, and then also I do a lot of voice impressions, so I would hopefully, I think it would be really cool in the future to do some voice acting, voiceovers, voice acting, that kind of stuff. When did you learn to sing so well? So that's actually really funny because I don't sing. I was in chorus or choir when I was in middle school, but after that I never really took up any sort of singing. I never sang for theater. I just kind of enjoy singing, and sometimes I can hit some good notes. I have never had any sort of formal training, and that's something I'm definitely going to do in the future. I'll be hiring a vocal coach when I move back to New York. Best Joker actor in your opinion? I am very biased toward this, and it's just because I like this style of the Joker. My favorite Joker is Heath Ledger's Joker. Mark Hamill's Joker in the cartoons, Jack Nicholson's Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker, Jared Leto's Joker, we're not even going to talk about. The Jokers all have very different styles, and the reason I like Heath Ledger's Joker so much is that it seems to bring out like the darker sort of thoughts that get buried down in the human psyche, and it seems very human to me. Like, it's not just evil and manic for the sake of evil and manic. Like, you see a human that was once there. There was a flip of a switch that led to him kind of becoming this mad sort of psychopath, and that's what I really like about Heath Ledger's Joker. When did I start lifting? So I started lifting seriously probably when I was 17 years old, 16 or 17 years old. I had always been doing strength and conditioning for baseball, but I didn't really get into barbell lifting and kind of the typical powerlifting, bodybuilding type stuff that I do now until I was a junior in high school. Are you planning on training with Russ again? Yes, actually I am. I will hopefully be going to California in a couple weeks. Russ, John, and Joey will all be there, and we will definitely be getting in some cool training footage as well as shooting the Shit Powerlifters Say Part 2, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy that. All of you guys in your prime, who wins in a race and jumps the highest? You, Russ, John, and Joey. Russ was a running back in football, and I believe his best 40 he had mentioned was a 4.5. I could not run a 4.5. I definitely think in our primes Russ would have been the fastest, but I think that I probably would have jumped the highest. My best standing vertical is about 37.5 inches, and I never tested height on a running vertical, but I could get pretty high above the rim, almost my whole, up to the wrist. I would say me, and then Russ I think would run the fastest. What's the tallest you can be in each weight class and still be an elite lifter? There's a lot of conflicting evidence because there are always exceptions to the rule. One thing that I've heard before that definitely rings true at the highest level is that weight classes are height classes in disguise. You'll usually see that the smaller guys in each weight class tend to be the strongest. You have to maximize the amount of lean body mass that you can have, and if you're too tall, you are definitely not maximizing the amount of lean body mass you can have for your frame. But then there's always exceptions to the rule. I mean, John Hack, John I think is 5'10". Most of us in the 83s are anywhere between 5'4" and 5'7"-ish. And John's the strongest 181 in the world, so there's always exceptions to the rules. How do you balance studies and work and powerlifting, and how do you stay motivated and persistent? So, guys, you have to make priorities for these things. When I was studying, when I was in school, I made time, right? There are plenty of people who go out drinking and partying, or they're watching Netflix. Like, that wasn't me. My priorities were the gym, so I would go to class, go to the gym, eat, do my work all throughout the night, and wake up and just kind of repeat that. And I was very consistent with my schedule because it mattered to me. If you have priorities, you will make time for them. Have you ever considered doing bodybuilding? Yes. The thought of doing a bodybuilding show actually really entices me. And it's not for the trophies, it's not for looking good, it's the suffering aspect of it, as crazy as that sounds. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I definitely think if I were to try bodybuilding, I would need to dedicate a year and a half to really putting on some solid muscle and bulking up significantly. I'd probably have to get up to around 210, I'd say, just a really slow, complete bulk, really committing to it, diet down to probably around 190-ish, and then actually start the prep from there, probably 20 to 24 weeks of dieting, and I'd guess my stage weight would probably be around 160. But any of you bodybuilding guys, you know, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Best steak that I've ever had. Oh man, I've had a lot of good steaks, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to separate it into Wagyu and non-Wagyu beef. For those of you who don't know what Wagyu beef is, Wagyu just refers to the beef cattle that are raised in Japan, and they're known for being heavily marbled steaks and have this just crazy flavor, crazy melt in your mouth sort of texture, and they don't really eat like most steaks. So the best steak that I've ever had that is Wagyu was a authentic Kobe beef I had while I was in Paris, France this summer actually. It's just the pinnacle of beef, and it was just phenomenal. It was a Kobe ribeye, and it was just spectacular. Melt in your mouth. It was unbelievable. The best non-Wagyu steak I've had is actually this restaurant in Boston that I went to a ton while I was in school. It's called Grill 23 and Bar, and they have a 100-day aged ribeye, and it was amazing. I've gotten that steak probably like 5 or 6 times. It's incredible. Any advice you would give to a 21-year-old looking to do a meet for the first time? What are you waiting for, dude? Just sign up and do it. If you wait until you think you're as strong as you could possibly be, you're never gonna compete. So just sign up for the meet. It's going to be so much fun. Like I cannot stress to you how fun it is doing powerlifting meets. Best hamstring builder, I would probably say it's a tie between an RDL and a glute ham raise if performed properly. I think that everybody should be implementing hip hinges into their programming, whether they are a bodybuilder or a powerlifter, whether they pull conventional or sumo. Doing hip hinges is the best way to build your backside, and it's gonna get your deadlift stronger. Did your arch come naturally or did it evolve over time? So I was always like the weird kid growing up who could do like flips and splits when I played baseball. When I first started travel baseball, I played first base because I just had crazy range being able to do splits and just was very flexible. When I started powerlifting, I didn't really bench that much. I didn't really arch that much, and then just kind of watching what powerlifters were doing when social media really started to blow up, I saw the arching, I'm like, what the hell is that? And then eventually I was like, oh, like I can do this. And it just took time to get the stability in the position and being able to replicate it under heavier loads, because sometimes you get up to a certain weight where you can do it and then it would break down. So I've always had the capability to do it, but it obviously takes lots and lots of practice to fine tune. How do you personally cut before your meets? Well, I actually made a water cut key video, so that gives my answer away. I usually water cut and manipulate food volume and food weight. The amount that you have to take in for your water load is individual to you, and manipulate sodium with it as well, because there are certain enzymes and hormones that come into play when you manipulate how much water you're consuming and how much sodium you're consuming. It balances electrolytes in your cells, blah, blah, blah. And then also manipulating food volume, so just eating really calorie-dense, low-residue food options during the week of the meet so that you can get in the same calories but not actually be adding as much bulk to your body. Would you go into detail about your baseball career? Oh man, so I've been playing baseball. Well, I haven't been playing baseball. I started playing baseball when I was 4 years old, and I stopped playing my freshman year of college. All growing up, I was a pitcher and a catcher. When I was 12 years old, I partially tore my rotator cuff, and that was definitely a function of overuse. I remember I would play, some weekends I'd play 4 games. I would catch 2 of them and pitch 1 of them, and arm care and just overall strength training was non-existent in my life back then. I threw very hard and was just very developed for my age, so it was just putting unnecessary stress on my connective tissue and on my bones. so that I got injured. The next year I came back, I ended up fracturing the medial epicondyle in my elbow, and I needed to get surgery for that. So I have 2 screws currently in my elbow. After those injuries, I decided, all right, I probably shouldn't be catching and pitching anymore. So I moved to the outfield because I had a really strong arm and I was fast. So I played all throughout high school as a center and right fielder. By the time I got to my senior year, we needed a good catcher, so I went back behind the plate. I knew at that point I wasn't going to be playing baseball at the professional level, so preserving my arm was not as much of a concern. And then by the time I got to college, I played the fall season. I had done really well, and it just wasn't for me anymore. I had already been kind of deep into powerlifting in terms of my passion for it. I hadn't really gotten a coach yet or done any high-profile meets, but I was just enjoying the training aspect way more than playing baseball. So once I got to my spring season, I told the coaches, I'm done. Playing for fun just doesn't do it for me. 2 to 3 general tips for a first meet. Aim to make all of your attempts and don't get greedy. Make sure that you have enough water, food, and salt, because meets take a long time and hella people cramp up or feel gassed by the end of the meet when they totally shouldn't. And number 3, have fun. Favorite brand of peanut butter? Need to know as a peanut butter enthusiast. Well, my personal favorite is Justin's peanut butter with honey. I get it from Whole Foods. It honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. It just tastes so much better than any other peanut butter I've ever had. It's not too sweet. It has some saltiness to it. It's just the perfect balance of that salty nuttiness and sweetness that I really like. So Justin's with honey is my favorite peanut butter. How do you push yourself to get through mentally down times in lifting? So there's definitely a lot of mindset improvement that you can do. It's something that anybody can learn and improve upon. There's nothing that you do that you can't improve upon. But a big part of it is also, how you're brought up and the values that are instilled in you, the experiences you have as a kid. I definitely had a lot of really good role models that pushed me growing up, and kind of valuing that hard work and perseverance was something that was instilled in me at a really young age. So I definitely just find myself as somebody who always focuses on the end goal and prioritizes so much what matters to me, and recognizes just how important that thing is to me. So even when I do get discouraged, I don't get off the path, right? You have to remember that you are getting upset and discouraged over what it is that you're doing because you care so much about it. You're lucky to have something that you care so much about. So remember that, keep that in the back of your head, and keep working. What lift have you struggled with the most, and how have you overcome failed lifts? So I think in meets, the lift I've struggled with the most is the deadlift. I've just always had trouble keeping balance, but I think I've remedied that pretty recently. The last meet I did, I pulled 700 finally in a meet. It was only 4 weeks after the Arnold where I missed it twice on balance. I have not really been having any balance issues in training, and it's not something that I really have to focus on or that I'm afraid of anymore. The lift I've struggled with the most in terms of progress is definitely my squat. I started off powerlifting being a very strong squatter. When I was 17, I had only been lifting for a few months and squatted 500 pounds, weighing under 180 pounds. In recent years, it's just been the lift that has lagged behind the other guys who are at the top of my weight class, and it's also stalled the most in progress. Not to mention the recent meniscus tear that I've gotten. It's been a real mental struggle with squats, and it's something that I hope to be able to overcome and just kind of not really think and just cruise through training, because you don't really get too much done when you're just focusing on all the negative things about what it is that you're doing. Let's see. How strong were each of your lifts after the first year of powerlifting? My squat was around 535 to 540 pounds. My best bench was 305 pounds. And my best deadlift was 575 pounds. When are you gonna start posting your impressions? Oh man. So I've been waiting for somebody to call me out on this because I've been really lazy about doing this, but I will actually put some in the video right now. Don't worry, I'll talk to him. He listens to me. He's not well. He knows what you're here for. He's not allowed to touch you. He knows that. Come, we'll have a proper meal.
My name's Hedwig, and I have red socks. He's on the move. He's on the move. Death will come for you, and you're not gonna like it. You guys make really weird noises when you sleep. I'm not supposed to say, but he's done awful things to people, and he'll do awful things to you. I have blue socks too.
Who the hell are you guys? Well, farewell, morons. Hell, he's never fought me. Well, he's never fought me twice. Well, what do I have to lose? I told you, you'd die for that.
Evacuate the city. Engage all defenses. And get this man a shield.
Do you want to know how I got these scars? My father was a drinker and a fiend. And one night, he goes off crazier than usual. Mommy gets the kitchen knife to defend herself. He doesn't like that. Not one bit. So, me watching, he puts the knife in her mouth, laughing while he does it. He looks at me. He says, "Why so serious?" He comes at me with the knife. "Why so serious?" He sticks the blade in my mouth. "Let's put a smile on that face." And why so serious?
But that's it for today's Q&A, guys. I didn't want to make this video crazy long. You guys have so many great questions, and I've really enjoyed filming this video for you guys. It's currently 3:05 a.m. and I am exhausted. So I'm gonna head back to my room and go to sleep. This video will be up tomorrow. Today is Monday, well technically Tuesday, but it was Monday night when I started. So this video will be up either Tuesday or Wednesday. So again, thank you guys for all your questions. I love answering them. So if you have any more, drop them down in the comments section. Don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe, and do whatever you gotta do. Remember, no bad days, and I will see you guys in week 3 of the Road to Raw National Series.